I invite Mr. Chaital Dey, APJ Industry Cloud Advisor for Automotive, SAP, for an engaging presentation on electric mobility solutions.
I think, first of all, thanks to the audience in terms of listening to the various informations that are coming out from all the speakers that were there earlier. And we listened to a lot of areas, including how electric mobility as a whole is changing. So it's an industry on the move. In some of the countries, it has moved ahead. In some countries like India, we are trying to figure out how it is going to move. But importantly, and if you remember, as Hagen said, from SAP, we are investing heavily in terms of some of the key areas from the EV value chain entirely. When we say EV, it doesn't mean only the car at the end of the day, because there are a lot of other areas, whether there are batteries, there are mobility service providers, there are charging providers, and there can be various other areas like designing the cars. There can be areas where we are talking about new business models, where partners are working, ecosystem partners are working, where different third-party content providers are coming in and trying to give you new business models. So looking at all these areas, it is important. What we are working on is where can SAP help in terms of the electric mobility. There are 5 core areas we are working on. And these are known to all. These areas are nothing new, but SAP is heavily investing on this. One, how we are helping manufacturers, OEMs, in terms of the entire design to operate and making them the next practices. How can we help them over there? There are organizations who are moving into this entire mobility business. There are people who are intending to get into this mobility business. And how we are helping them to figure out new opportunities, new revenue channels in terms of new business models that are coming across. The core of an EV, in terms of the differentiation also, is the EV battery itself. The battery is not really a commodity, because at the end of the day, it's the battery which is making a differentiation in terms of a lot of vehicles. Obviously, there are other capabilities that are still important, but battery is still a differentiator. How battery, especially from a circularity viewpoint, how we are managing the EV batteries is very important. Importantly, the entire topic of EV is sustainability. But at the end of the day, all these topics has to add up in terms of what are the batteries, how you are manufacturing the cars, how sustainability is actually getting impacted, how organizations are able to report sustainability in terms of the growing needs, in terms of the globally, because now today is a connected world, how we are able to solve those areas. And last but not the least, the last topic I think we are discussing about this entire EV charging ecosystem, how we are going to help them in terms of optimizing this journey and making this journey actually attractive to the end consumer also. It is very important. Obviously, we cannot cover every topic in terms of in the finished car, the battery, and the battery being fitted into the car, and finally, the second life of the battery, how this entire cycle, and finally to disposal, how it is circular in nature. When you say circular, how it is being used in its first life, how it is being used in the second life, how sustainably you are able to source the materials, how importantly it is to understand that how those in terms of traceabilities are there, and in terms of carbon footprints, all these informations at the end of the day is about the circular battery management. A lot of people call this as battery passport also. That means where you have really sourced the battery, how it has all the informations related to its life cycle, and how you have used it. Both these two are very important. And for this, it is important to understand there are a lot of alliances that are already present. And SAP, and I think in Hagen's discussion, he mentioned about how we are working with Catena X. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to go through this entire alliance in terms of the entire value chain, you are not working alone. You are working from the raw material provider to who are making cells, then who are making battery packs, and then you are making vehicles. All these people are linked in this value chain. And if you are linked to the value chain, it is important that informations are passed on to each other. If it is not, it is very difficult. So that if you're talking about a provenance of a particular battery, for an example, you need to understand how it was sourced, how it was manufactured, what has been the carbon footprint across the value chain, so that when you are selling the car, you know what's the carbon footprint that it has incurred in terms of the entire value chain. So in this case, there are a lot of alliances like Catena X programs, which not only looks at battery, but also looks at other serialized materials that are coming. There are alliances like the Global Battery Alliances, which looks at the entire sustainability-driven battery management system. In all these areas, SAP is playing a role in terms of either knowledge partners or we are working from a technology viewpoint. But if you look the brass tack level, there are two distinct things that we need to understand. One, from a battery perspective, how the provenance of the battery, that if for a manufacturer, even if at an aggregate level, can we understand what information is lying from the start of the manufacturing of the battery? That means how it has flowed. The two, how we are going to use the battery and how it has been used. Now, if these two areas are taken into consideration, and I would like to highlight that how some of the key solutions that are going to help. One, in terms of the areas where we are talking about material provenance, where you are talking about how the material flow has happened across the different supplier channels, including where from raw material finally to the making of the battery. This one can be within your organization. What happens? There are multiple places where your organizations are distributed geographically also. You may not be using one system sometimes. Some of the part of the batteries may be manufactured in some part, some may be to the other part. There might be some batteries that are manufactured in Europe and then transferred to Japan, and the requirements are different. So in this case, how within an organization the information flows with some of your suppliers, which we can call it as more of a local network. The other area is if there are requirements about providing informations to a larger global network, how we are going to do it. So logistic business network from SAP, the material traceability solution, actually works on a blockchain method where information across your material batch, serialized materials, documents like your purchase order, delivery notes, or even carbon footprint can be exposed to different global networks or different partners through which this information can flow seamlessly. Where you can have, for an example, uniquely identifiable serialized material which is being used across the value chain. And that's the important, this solution is ready in terms of whether you create your own network or this solution can provide other global networks like Catena X this information from your organization. So this is a solution which is ready for that sort of a movement in terms of traceability. The other portion is where the battery is being used. Now the whole area is about creating a digital twin. Now, when we talk about digital twin, we always think about the finished product. That's the car sometimes. Okay, I can have a digital twin of a car. A lot of people have today in your mobile device how much kilometers you have traveled and all those things, but it doesn't stop over there. A lot of times we think about digital twin as only the IT, OT or a telematic sort of information only. That's not the case. What we are talking about, can we have a digital twin sort of a concept where all the serialized materials over there, obviously which have benefits to be tracked in terms of a digital twin perspective, can be tracked. Now, when you talk about again digital twin, it's not only about IT, OT and telematics, because there are lots of other informations which are important. That informations can be within a particular organization, for an example, sales-related, purchase-related information, or there can be informations which are outside the organizations, for example, insurance information, driver information, where it has been used, for an example, GPS-based tracking, where it has been done. So there can be multiple sets of information which creates a digital twin. A lot of cases, organizations, even the bigger OEMs, have their IT/OT platforms and the telematics platform ready. But what we are looking at is a more holistic approach towards where it has been used and how it has been used holistically. And here is the second area where fulfills the battery passport as a concept. Through material traceability, you require where it has been used, how it has been produced, where it has been put, and through digital vehicle lab, how it has been used, how long it has been used for its first time or its second life. All these informations will be there. Now, the information is over here. There can be multiple use cases, and I've been discussing with few of you that what you have to do with the information if you're not able to use it. And in the next section, I will talk about that also. But what to do with this information? You have all this information. So one of the use cases, we have been working with a partner, rather two partners. One is a Porsche company, their services unit, and twice from an IoT integration layer, that what we are doing with this digital twin data, can we optimize the batteries, the use of the batteries? When we say optimize of what? We heard about how batteries are connected to cars, the cars is connected to the charging, and the charging is connected to the grids and all those things. So if we can have battery data, car data, and how they are being charged and discharged, how many times, where it has been, if this information is there, just to give an example, and then we run a machine learning algorithm to see that what is the life of expectancy of the battery, think about what sort of service you can give. It can be see that how you have been using it, so your extended warranty can be personalized depending on car to car. Today what you do, extended extended warranty is same for all, depending on the age of the car. Are you looking at the usage of the car? Are you looking at the usage of the battery? So think about all these things with digital twin as a cornerstone and this sort of informations now you're having. You can now customize your service offerings to your consumers, even at one consumer level or a group of consumer level, depending on how you want to put them together. So these are opportunities that you can look at. I'll just play a small video how this thing works. Can we have the AV, please?
Demand for e-mobility is accelerating, and battery-powered electric cars are leading the pack. Suppliers and automakers invest heavily in the battery. To ease customers' concerns about range, availability of charging points, charging speed, and residual value of batteries, players in the sector are creating new business models. For example, as warranty periods get longer, manufacturers need to find the right balance between production costs and warranty costs. So the best battery quality must be achieved, while also shortening time to market. Suppliers and automakers need to actively manage batteries while they are in use and understand the diverse aging patterns of batteries and feed this information back into engineering. A digital twin of the vehicle and the battery can combine vehicle and battery usage data with analytics tools that execute machine learning algorithms to enable more efficient and economic operations along the entire battery life cycle. By reflecting on each vehicle's battery health in real time and giving detailed lifetime predictions, a digital twin opens up new ways and additional services to optimize battery usage and residual value. Just think of predictive maintenance, warranty extensions, or charging profiles that extend the lifetime via software updates. A deep dive into vehicle and battery conditions also enables closed-loop engineering and optimized production. Plus, it protects the vehicle resale value and the second market value of a battery. To make all this happen, SAP Industry Cloud and SAP Asset Management Solutions join forces with predictive battery analytics solutions from Twice and MHP's process and IT integration capabilities, providing materials, products, and customer insights to create new value and develop innovative business models. Learn more about our holistic battery lifecycle management approach.
The next area is obviously an offshoot of this. If you can offer this sort of a service, think about this from an EV perspective alone. Think about new business use cases that can come up. Not only from only charging perspective, but different sets of services. And when we talk about services, what are those services? The customer wants a service from you, and what are the different services it can be given by the ecosystem? When I say ecosystem, today we are in a connected world. We are not alone. We don't provide service alone. We provide service as an ecosystem. So when we are talking about service, it's not only beyond vehicle as a service. Yes, there are rental models, yes, there are things, but there are a lot of other areas that service can be given. It can be emergency services, it can be maintenances, it can be EV charging as a service. And along with that, there can be a lot of other monetization that can come across with this sort of digital twins and other things. For an example, if data, if it is from a privacy angle, if it is covered, maybe selling data to the insurance, and so that insurance can become more personalized depending on how the car has been used. So think about different service models and the new business opportunities that can come up. Now, how can such things work? What are the methods to it? Is there a process where you start? And how do you approach this sort of a business model? So there are, I will say, distinct 4 steps that you can see. Obviously, you can break down 4 to 6 or 4 to 2. But one is that, how do you identify what differentiated service you are providing? That is one. And I have told you one of those examples in the digital twin, one of the use cases. So there can be huge numbers of use cases based on information related to the car and the batteries. There can be other services which are more generic in nature. It can be services like third-party services, like a lot of organizations are thinking, okay, can I give music and video content as a service within a car? You are giving it today. Today it's being provided, but they don't own it. That is being owned by third party. And this sort of services is maybe new to automotive. This sort of services existed. Look at your telecom operators. They are providing multiple such services which belongs to third party. So today industry norms are blurring. It's not that this industry can do and this industry can't do, it doesn't happen. So in terms of that, you identify what sort of service, differentiated service, or a group of service you are going to provide. 2, how easily can you create models, subscription models, usage with models on those. And 3, how easily consumers can consume that. These are the first step. We are talking about subscription service and monetization model that you need to look at. And these are distinct steps. You need to do this. The second, okay, I have the contracts ready. I have subscription. My consumers through an app has already taken this. Now, how I'm going to provision it for them? Because again, you are not providing all the services. Some of the services you may be providing. Some of the services there can be third parties. How you want to provision them so they can enjoy those services. If I'm walking to a mall and I have a charging, for an example, over there, my mall tickets or my parking tickets are not applicable for me, for an example. That's an added benefit, for an example. But that is one part. The second part is that a lot of times we bundle services or entitlements, what you call it, just for the sake of it. Are those entitlements being used? Are those provisions that you are being used? Because everything comes at a cost. As Sandeep was saying, that if I add more and more things, it at the end of the day adds to my cost. But are the consumers using it even? So how do I know, how do I monitor all these entitlements that I'm providing to them, not only by me, but across through that? So that is very important. It is pivotal. A lot of people don't look at it. Third part is, and these two are very important. The third part is that how I'm sharing all these revenues across my ecosystem. Because I am not providing. Again, we are providing. And last, not the least, but the settlement of all those things. To customers, to consumers, to partners, and what I am finally getting. If we follow these 4 steps from starting where services starts, it means that new business models you can offer to consumers. And to add to this, I think in the end of a session, we will talk about, our partner will talk about how they have done from an EV charging perspective in Europe, one of this subscription-based model through charging in Italy. So the cornerstone of this entire thing is the subscription model that SAP can provide in terms of subscription management and entitlement management as a solution which can help, one, from a subscription perspective, creating different models, creating different rate plans, and finally, what partners, who gets what, all this from a commercial construct, and entitlement as a solution, as anything as a service model, that if anything as a service model is done, how provisions will be provided, how you are able to monitor those provisions at one place, whether it is being provided by you or others, and how we can have those third parties linked to you and see those provisions being provided to them. There are a lot of other technicalities around it, integrations and all those things. I'm not getting into it today, but this is the brass tag in terms of high level, what are the key requirements. As at the last, we will understand something about the subscription models and how it has been used. I will just look at that how entitlement can be managed with SAP's entitlement management as another video.
Effective entitlement management is essential in the new digital world, where more and more products are consumed as a service. How can you easily manage your customers' rights for all their different products and services, all under a variety of licensing models? How can you execute timely renewals, tap upsell and cross-sell opportunities, and provide world-class digital delivery? The answer is SAP Entitlement Management. Reduce revenue leakage. With SAP Entitlement Management, you have full visibility into what your customers are licensed for, as well as what has been consumed. Automated triggers notify you to take action when a request for consumption goes beyond the licensed entitlement, eliminating unlicensed usage. Licensed credits, consumption, and remaining balance of credits are available to trigger renewals or upsell, reducing revenue leakage. Accelerate new revenue streams. Does your solution include products, software, and/or services? Is it a subscription-based license or a license based on usage? Regardless of how you package your solutions or what monetization models you use, SAP Entitlement Management is a simple and cost-effective way to manage all your customer entitlements in one place. Here, you see how one product offering entitles your customer to multiple entitlements, such as subscription, license, support, warranty, and services. This flexibility minimizes the time to market for new products, enabling new revenue streams. Optimize digital delivery. In the new digital economy, selling a solution is only the first step. Orchestrating business processes based on that sale is the cornerstone of a true digital transformation. With SAP Entitlement Management, you define business events and track their statuses to drive downstream processes. The solution can coordinate with fulfillment systems on the status of shipments or provisioning of a solution, and then send notifications to the order management system to trigger revenue recognition. The solution can also identify renewals, send customer notifications, and generate opportunities in a CRM system, protecting your bottom line through optimized digital delivery. How does your organization capture value in this software-driven world? By reducing revenue leakage, accelerating new revenue streams, and optimizing digital delivery with SAP Entitlement Management.
Now we have seen how we are going to manage new business models. Important part next is so much of offerings are being given to consumers. You can have multiple types of vehicles today, and you can have multiple types of batteries in it, and there are multiple services that you are providing. Is there an impact on your manufacturing? As the models increase, as the models changes, there is a lot of impact into your manufacturing. And with EV, we also know there are even technologies that are getting changed. Your motor to transmission, there are different ways that you can deliver now power. So it becomes very difficult that how those flexibilities that you are providing to your consumers or to your customers to choose from has an impact on your manufacturing. Added to that, it's known that electric vehicle at the end of the day is, yes, it will take a bit of a time. It's not that today and tomorrow you have every vehicle as electric vehicle. So the OEMs has to survive in terms of having electric vehicles being manufactured, IC vehicles being manufactured, and also hybrid vehicles being manufactured, probably out of the same plant. You are not going to change the plant assembly line immediately today because that's a huge cost that goes, and that's the practicality of the situation people are having. With all the best of model mix planning and all those things, people are still having the pressure because obviously the EV sales is not going to change suddenly tomorrow to everything, 100% EV. So how are we going to have this variation of multiple models, multiple demands that are coming, differentiated products in EV into manufacturing is something what we are looking at. We have to look at flexible manufacturing, and all what I have discussed right now is about flexible manufacturing. How your shop floor, your assembly lines can be transformed into more flexible manufacturing where you do not lose the capability to mass produce, but with certain amounts of complexities, certain amount of variations to it. Now, this is not as simple as I speak because every organization will be having its different journey. It will not be same for any of them. And even within our organization, two plants may be having different journeys because of what model mix they manufacture at the end of the day. But Here, this flexible manufacturing, what we call it, is a mix of what we are talking about, cellular manufacturing or modular manufacturing. That is something that is coming up. How is it being used? We will have a video how Daimler actually is using it. So this is called Factory 56. You can go to YouTube and you have a bigger video, 2.5 minutes video, you can look at it. If you have seen in between, they was talking about a tech line. So what they have done, they are looking at an assembly line, and then they are having a separate AGV driven line where they are having those differentiated models or differentiated areas that are being serviced. Now when we talk about a car assembly, there are a lot of components in it. For example, the EV battery being assembled, then there are electronic components being assembled. Are we talking about entirely shifting from an assembly cell line to a cell manufacturing? Yes, people are thinking about it, but it is not so easy. What we see, the hybrid model is being adopted, as we have seen in the case of Daimler, where we are having the best of both worlds. We are not removing the low cost, the high production, optimized production capabilities of assembly line, but we are also looking at dynamic routing of voxels or specific voxels that are being created for specific. For an example, a particular wheel assemblies and other things are being assembled through the cellular manufacturing. Or flexible material staging is happening in some of the areas where this flexible manufacturing of hybrid of both assembly lines as well as cellular manufacturing is being used. Now, this is an area, how much of what is, again, as I told you, that will be dependent solely on organizations to organizations, on plants to plants, on models that are being manufactured in your plant. However, with SAP, we support all of this in terms of having this cellular manufacturing being supported through the manufacturing solution, manufacturing MES solution, what we call a digital manufacturing industry cloud solution, which helps in the operational sequencing, which is required in cellular manufacturing, as well as the resource dispatching. These are the two tenets of cellular manufacturing, which is supported by this. And along with the traditional assembly line, what we believe is that this entire flexible manufacturing can be handled through these solutions. Looking at the time, I am not getting into this video of this because we are running a bit short of time today. So I will skip this video maybe and then move forward. The last but not the least is the charge point operation, because we have covered the entire life cycle part of it and now how you charge it. And we had a lot of understanding discussion that we had with the two panelists. These are concerns well known. These are terms of how to optimize the charging point operations, what are the different roles different players play in it. And what we have done is that, we have divided into two specific roles. Again, there can be roles in between, one doing the other's role, but what we see is one is a charge point operator perspective, who sets up most of the infrastructures, works with the utility companies, works to see that the certain grids are being allocated to them, what sort of power they can supply, how many charging points they are going to have. The other key role which is actually developing is this area. It is the e-mobility service provision. That means it is like our telecom service providers. Wherever you go, you cling on to the roaming because you don't really care that who is providing, which tower is providing you that sort of information to you or helping you in your calls. So you think about this as the tower which actually is providing you the connectivity and the charge. This is absolutely taking care of wherever you go, you provide. Now, these roles can be interchangeable or one can play all the roles. That role particularly can be played by somebody and this can be a third-party operator who operates on behalf of them. There can be also roaming that can also come, which we are seeing in Europe in terms of where one service providers, there are multiple service providers and wherever you probably go into and charge, it's the roaming facilities are there where those charges are ultimately managed by Hubjet, for an example, in Europe. So we look at from an e-mobility service provision, especially this charge point operation, and also moving towards the e-mobility service as a solution. Now, what are the different scenarios we see? Now, again, this is very important. One is the charge at home scenario. In a lot of these cases, charge at home, sometimes the organization which you are working in is helping you in terms of, okay, you take EV vehicles, charge at home, and we will pay for it in terms of the charge, in terms of, so these are making some sustainability goals inside. For an example, in SAP, for example, SAP Labs has this provision where organizations can charge at work. And there are cases in some of the countries where charge at home are also being provided. The middle one, obviously, is the charge at public, where a lot of complexities come in terms of one, we have described the subscription models and other things that can come up. The other is areas like dynamic pricing that can come in, which is based on the grid price and others, those areas will be handled in terms of how you are quoting the consumers immediately in terms of what charges, depending on what price you are getting from the back-end grids. So those complexities are there and we are aware of all these things. So what the solution today we are already in covers many of these areas, and we are working, obviously, mainly in the European market, we are seeing a lot of traction in this. We are constantly working on those areas which new capabilities are getting built on. So the key tenets of this solution that we have, one is the charge point device management. This is as per the Open Charge Point Protocol, OCPP, compliant charging. So any OCPP compliant charging stations can work with us from this CMS solution, charge point management solution. So the entire monitoring of the charge points, how much of what are the different charging units, how it will be connected, are there parent-child relation within that, all those key capabilities are built into it. The second part is the batch management, which is very important, like who is coming to charge at the end of the day, whether it is an RFID-based charging and other things, where RFID-based tags are there, where customers or employees can walk in and the EV can actually identify it. Third area is the charging station management, where I want to highlight the dynamic load management area, which is very important. For an example, I have limited EV charging stations. Nobody has unlimited at the end of the day. So within that, how I am going to schedule, for an example, if there is a schedule like the buses and other things, how, for an example, if there are multiple cars, how can I dynamically, based on some algorithms, try to see which has to be, because your connected power is limited, because you have certain which is being given to you. How within that, how it can be optimized depending on some machine learning algorithms. So these are the dynamic load management capabilities that are being built. And with that, obviously, you get the statistics of it. Which of your charging stations are really performing, which are not, which are lying empty, where there has been much load. So then you can plan accordingly that what are being utilized, what are not being utilized, what had been down maximum number of times, all these informations are available. Along with that, we are opening up to OCPI and other compliance where we can have this roaming interconnection, billing related integrations with our solutions, all those things to also deliver charge at public capability.